Saturday in Atlanta.
All clubs will be invited to attend, and video of both the workout and interview will also be made available to all clubs. Kaepernick's camp was not notified about the workout. How about this? Until Tuesday morning.
A memo from the league indicates they arranged the opportunity. Perhaps this is the indication that the climate has changed.
This seems like a setup, a way to distance themselves from the blackball talk.
I don't think he's going to see a lot of head coaches and GMs on an NFL Saturday in season.
When you try to move it to a Tuesday, when you try to get different things done and they won't do it, that smells to me.
It's like a movie, written, directed, scripted, and produced by the NFL for their own PR purposes.
The list of quarterbacks around the league who have been on rosters over the course of the past 3 years and this year and think it's absurd that he hadn't been on one of them, perhaps that changes after this weekend in Atlanta if this all isn't just some sort of elaborate show put on by the league.
All right, if you're just joining us, the Get Up crew got us covered on everything going on with the NFL and Colin Kaepernick. Dominique Foxworth joining us now. Always good to see you.
Great to be here, Molly.
Stephen A., before I get to you, we do have some news that Brian Flores, head coach of the Miami Dolphins, has said that there will be a rep at his workout. Clearly, they are interested in Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
I'm just reporting the news. Stephen A., how will this entire Kaepernick situation play out?
I have no idea. What I can tell you is that the belief is that he will show up, he will work out, he will show out and show that he still has the talent to be an NFL quarterback. As I said earlier, I saw Colin Kaepernick a couple of weeks ago while I was traveling. He looked in phenomenal shape, rock solid, ready to roll. Clearly, all the noise about him working out was evidently true. If you saw him like I saw him up close and personal in terms of just standing right next to him and talking to him for a couple of minutes, he looked in phenomenal shape. I don't think anybody doubts that Colin Kaepernick will be ready to play football. I think the question mark is everything is about that interview. What they're going to ask him, what their hope and expectations are in regards to what he may say, and where they go from there. I think this is just my personal opinion. Like I said, throughout the show, Dominique, just in case you missed me, I was just talking about the phone calls that I had received over the last 12 hours or so about everything from all sides that have been going on. I really haven't been giving my opinion. I will now. I believe that ultimately it's going to come down to Colin Kaepernick. Are you going to continue to take a knee? Are you going to continue to do what you was doing prior to being out of this league? And if teams don't hear what they want to hear, I don't think he's back in the league. I think if he takes the Michael Bennett route, along with various others, and I'm certainly casting no aspersions on Michael Bennett or anything like that. His name just came up because somebody was alluding to him not taking the knee the other day when he's in Dallas. I think that if Colin Kaepernick says, you know what, my protest was never against the NFL. My protest was to address racial oppression and police brutality and racial inequality in this country, to bring attention to those issues. And I think that I've succeeded in doing that. And as a result, there are other routes that I could take off the football field on a Sunday afternoon. I think if teams hear that, I think Colin Kaepernick's going to have a job within the next 2 weeks. That's just my personal opinion based on what I deduce from what I've been hearing. Whether that's true or not, I have no idea. Dominique, you would know better than me. You played in the NFL. You've got more personal and closer relationships in the NFL than I do. I just know what they've been saying.
I think everyone's been tight-lipped on this, which is what makes it really confusing. And it does, like, there are plenty of signs that point to this being an attempt to sabotage him, like telling him just before a workout. Normally when you're getting ready for a workout, you know months in advance. When you're talking about college players, their pro days, they know months in advance when it is in order to, like, get in the best shape and prepare. But I also think that the NFL is not stupid. They recognize that this was kind of out of the media cycle. Like, outside of this show, I don't hear his name coming up very often. They were they were in the clear. They already paid the settlement. I don't understand why they would put this back in the news unless they felt confident that the ending result will be with him on the roster, because then they can walk around with their chest out and say that we've had some success. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to put this back in front of us and make all their teams look stupid again and make them look stupid again for passing up on here, especially when you have guys like all the quarterbacks' names we've heard. No one's really talked about Matt Moore. He's a perfect example of a 35-year-old quarterback who why he's important is because he was rusty also. He was a scout. He wasn't playing football games last year. So this is an opportunity, I think, that the NFL knows or feels strongly that one of these teams, or they at least feel strongly that Colin Kaepernick is not going to kneel. And they feel strongly that one of these teams is prepared to bring him in, because otherwise, what are you doing?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but he can't kneel anymore, right? Because it's not mandatory that you're on the field for the ceremony. If you're not gonna stand for the ceremony, now you're in the tunnel. So the kneeling is sort of you can't do that anymore.
He still can kneel. They didn't take his knees away from him. He can walk out on the field during the national anthem.
But now that's against the rules.
Violate the league rule.
He'd be in violation of league rules, which he'd ostensibly sign up for if he came back.
Wouldn't he just stay in the locker room?
Yeah.
Right, but my point is, I know what you mean, Dominique. Like, that also struck me. So my first thought was a team wants to hire him as a quarterback and wants cover. And my second thought was maybe Jay-Z can broker this thing, and that's part of, he was called a sellout and all these things. Like, just wait, I'm going to, as Stephen A. points out, operate behind the scenes. But then I think that NFL needs to cover their butts right now with Kaepernick. That's what it feels like to me, because you're right. He's not, there's no, like, it's off people's radars, basically.
Right, yeah.
See,
Max, may I ask you a question? May I ask you a question, Max?
Please, yeah.
I'm really at a loss for why you keep saying that the NFL is trying to cover themselves. And I asked that question, let me throw this out, and then I'll give the floor to you. As Dominique Foxworth just pointed out, the NFL was in the clear. He filed the grievance, they settled, and a lot of people haven't been talking about it. Not only that, this workout that's taking place, it's very similar to the scouting combine because it's league organized. Colin Kaepernick is an unrestricted free agent, free to be brought in and worked out by any individual team. The reason why the league, from what I've been told, is doing this is because the league, those teams rather, want to provide themselves cover if indeed he doesn't look good in the workout, or if indeed the interview goes bad. They don't want to take heat from the public as an individual team that would not sign Colin Kaepernick. By it being league organized, the league would take that hit. So if the presumption is that the league can afford to take the hit as opposed to the individual team, and you take into account what Dominique just explained about the league being in the clear, why, Max, do you continue to say the league, it must be some kind of legal
Several
issue,
reasons.
or they're trying to cover themselves or whatever? What is the explanation
Fair
for that?
points.
Please give
All
it to
fair
me.
points. Several reasons. This is not what the NFL does normally, is organize this. You say that's answered by the fact, or by the idea that, well, if teams want cover, the NFL would step forward and do this. After all, the league office works for the owners. However, they were told they couldn't move the date. It has to be on this date. It can't be moved. It's a weird date to have it on. Wait, can we? But no, that tells me there's some ticking clock from the NFL's point of view. That's it may be something else, but that's what jumps to my mind. They leaked it to the press. And it was even unclear. Wait, who organized this? Why? The details were unclear, but it was leaked 24 hours in advance to the press. That's not normally the way things get done. And so I just think to myself, why do it now? Why do it like this? I'm not saying I know the answer, but it just feels to me.
I think that there are holes in this conversation that we don't have answers to, which lends us to come up with our own
conspiracy theories. Yeah.
I don't think that Max's theory is right. I think what happens is we think of organizations as monolith. Like, we think the NFL or the NFL owners is one entity that thinks the same. What I think happened, and this again is a theory, what I think happened is one of these teams or a couple of these teams are interested in signing him. And everything Stephen A. said is right. And they are using the league for cover in order to bring him out there. But there are also people within the NFL league office and people within ownership who do not want this to happen. They do not want Colin Kaepernick back in the league. And those people are the people who are competing to make this as difficult and onerous on Colin Kaepernick as it is.
And therefore it's confusing to us.
Like there is infighting in any major organization, there's infighting there.
Just info, I've heard, there's two teams, before you go, Max, there's two teams that were definitively interested in him that called the league office about him. That's number one. Number two, I'm hearing there's at least 10 owners, if not more, that want nothing to do with him. But they're divided because there's about 10 to 15 who do believe he should be back in the league, which is why the league stands up religiously and states, we have not banished him from the league. Teams have a right to bring him on. We haven't prohibited them from bringing him on board. So all of those things are true. And as a result, now that you have that as a reality with this workout taking place, I think you have others that saying, we don't want him dictating what day to work out, to move, and giving him any semblance of control. Because this is still our league, and if he's willing to capitulate, we want him back.
Dominique,
that's the message they want to send.
I like your theory because it's nuanced, because it would describe, I've talked about Occam's razor on this show, right? The simplest explanation that describes the most phenomena, usually correct. And in this case, it takes a little jump in terms of your thinking, because the simplest explanation is that it's more complex behind the scenes than we like to believe, that it's not a monolith, that the NFL owners have competing interests and different points of view, and that would certainly describe, at least explain, why it's so confusing from this distance. And yet I have to say, it is confusing from this distance.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
The simplest explanation is usually the right one. What was that? What was that you said, Max?
What
the hell was that?
The simplest explanation that
what
describes
was it called,
the
is what I'm
most
saying.
phenomenon, Occam's razor.
All right. Dominique,
Occam's razor. Thank you. Thank you for that. Didn't know that.
All right, I'll leave you with this. We asked everybody at home, would they like to see Colin Kaepernick back in the league? With over 20,000 votes, only 57% said yes, they would. I asked the guys this earlier in the show. Max said it would be a surprise. Stephen A. thinks it is a possibility. Do you think we could possibly see Kaepernick in the NFL this season?
Yeah, I absolutely think he gets in the NFL soon. Because again, I don't understand why this happens. A team is very interested. The only way that that the NFL would allow this to happen is if they plan on, if he has a bad showing, or if they want us to believe that he can't play anymore, which I don't think any of us will believe. I think that he will be back in the league, because otherwise, why do this? Why draw all this attention? And when you have a guy like, go ahead, Stephen A.
I'm told if this guy shows up and plays and doesn't and shuts up, he will be back in the league within a week or two. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, and I think the shuts up thing is the difficult one. Because that Colin Kaepernick will not do. I'm not sure how they're going to phrase it, but if they expect him, my expectation, my belief
just for clarification, do you mean shuts up between now and then, or do you mean going forward is no longer vocal about social issues, Stephen A.?
I mean, shut up between now and the workout, and when he does the workout, and remember, the NFL's position is